Ja, hallo, mein Name ist Volkan Ağar, ich bin Redakteur bei der Taz im Ressort Gesellschaft und Medien, Taz 2. Und ich heiße Sie und euch herzlich willkommen zu unserer Lesung und unserem Gespräch heute mit dem Schriftsteller Barbaros Altuğ. Wir werden heute einen Auszug lesen aus seinem Roman Sticht, meine Seele, der letztes Jahr erschienen ist. Dieses Jahr ist er auch auf Türkisch erschienen. Und auf Türkisch heißt er Ruhumdaki, yaralar. Wir werden jetzt beide gleich jeweils einen Auszug lesen, ich auf Deutsch, Barbaros auf Türkisch. Und dann werden wir uns über das Buch und auch andere Themen unterhalten. Die Unterhaltung wird auf Englisch sein, einfach auch aus Zeitgründen und um ein fließenderes Gespräch zu haben und keine Übersetzung dazwischen schieben zu müssen. Genau. Zunächst einmal zum Roman Sticht, meine Seele. Es geht darin um den armenischen Genozid, beziehungsweise um den Genozid an den Armenierinnen und Armeniern im Osmanischen Reich, der im Jahr 1915 begonnen hat. Es geht um eine Journalistin aus Paris, die türkischer Herkunft ist, deren Eltern aus der Türkei stammen, die in Frankreich aufgewachsen ist und die von ihrem Magazin beauftragt wird, in die Türkei zu fahren und über einen Vorfall zu berichten. Und dieser Vorfall ist die Ermordung des armenisch-türkischen Journalisten Hrant Dink im Jahr 2007. Der wurde damals vor dem Redaktionsgebäude seiner Zeitung Agos von einem jungen Rechtsextremen erschossen. Das war ein sehr, sehr tragischer Vorfall in der jüngeren Geschichte der Türkei, in der Geschichte der Pressefreiheit auch in der Türkei. Und genau, die Journalistin Derin wird beauftragt, die Trauerfeier zu begleiten. Und dort fängt sie dann an zu recherchieren zum Thema Genozid und findet verschiedene Dinge heraus, auch über sich selbst und ihre eigene Familie. Genau. Ich würde sagen, wir lesen jetzt erstmal einen Ausschnitt. Zunächst auf Türkisch.
Aydınlık. Sabah güneşin doğuşuyla uyandım. Açık bıraktığım perdeden sapsarı bir ışık süzülüyordu. Oda servisine kahve söyleyip hazırlanmaya başladım. Bir taraftan kahvemi içerken, bir taraftan da İstanbul'un karmaşık, tuhaf, çirkin ve güzel, beton ve insandan oluşan kaosunu seyrediyordum. Sağ tarafta simsiyah bir mücevher kutusu gibi Atatürk Kültür Merkezi duruyordu. Karşımda kaygan mermer merdivenleriyle şehrin henüz dokunulmamış pek az yeşil alanlarından Gezi Parkı. Belinda ile daha sonra, ben Erivan'a gitmeden önceki son gün, hayatımın yeni bir sayfası açılırken bu parkta yürüyeceğiz. Bana annesiyle çocukluğundan beri buraya geldiğini anlatacak. Eski soğuk İstanbul kışlarını. Karın günlerce erimeden parkta kaldığı günleri. Herkesin evine çekildiği, sokakların üşüyen kedi ve köpeklere kaldığı, ekmeğin erken uyananların olduğu zamanlar. Soluk ışıklı yorgun tramvayların, kimsesiz ve sessiz şehrin sokaklarında, terk edilmiş bir çocuk parkında rüzgarla sallanan salıncaklar gibi tıkırdayarak gittiği kışlar. Okullar kapanırdı hemen diyecek. Dükkanlar bile. Ama ben bazen gizlice de olsa çıkardım sokağa. İstanbul'un en güzel zamanıdır o günler. Çizmesinin içine karlı sular gire çıka, akşam eve döndüğünde işiteceği azara rağmen Taksim'e yürümek. Taksim hiç kapanmaz. Panayır yeri gibi benim için. Park daha yeni sayılırdı. Mermer merdivenler kış güneşi altında parlardı o zaman. O mermer merdivenlerin bir zamanlar burada olan Ermeni mezarlığının mezar taşları olduğunu söyleyecek annesi ona. Belki annesi o yüzden çok sevmiyor burayı. Bak diye bir tanesini gösterecek eğilip. Hala Ermenice yazısı okunan bir mezar taşının üstündeyiz biz. Ama bunlar sonra olacak. Şimdi sadece ışıldayan aydınlık bir gün var önümde. Ve dergiye hazırladığım o hikaye. Ben hala öyle sanıyorum.
Helligkeit. Am Morgen erwachte ich mit dem Aufgang der Sonne. Durch den geöffneten Vorhang sickerte goldgelbes Licht. Ich bestellte Kaffee beim Zimmerservice und machte mich fertig. Während ich meinen Kaffee trank, betrachtete ich das seltsam schöne wie zugleich hässliche Istanbuler Chaos aus Moscheen und Häusern. Zur Rechten stand, einer schwarzen Schmuckschatulle ähnlich, das Atatürk-Kulturzentrum. Mir gegenüber befand sich mit ihren glatten Marmortreppen eine der wenigen verbliebenen Grünflächen der Stadt, der Gezi-Park. Später, noch bevor ich nach Erivan gehe und eine neue Seite in meinem Leben aufgeschlagen wird, werde ich mit Belinda in diesem Park spazieren gehen. Belinda wird mir erzählen, dass sie als Kind immer mit ihrer Mutter hierher gekommen sei. Wie kalt einst die Istanbuler Winter waren. Tagelang hielt sich der Schnee im Park. Sie wird mir von einer Zeit erzählen, in der alle sich in ihre Häuser zurückgezogen hatten. Die Straßen den frierenden Katzen und Hunden überlassen blieben und das Brot denen gehörte, die früh genug aufstanden. Von einem Winter, in dem Straßenbahnen mit trüber Beleuchtung sich durch die einsamen, stillen Straßen der Stadt mühten und dabei quietschten wie Schaukeln auf einem verlassenen Kinderspielplatz, die einzig der Wind anstieß. Die Schulen wurden dann geschlossen, wird sie sich erinnern. Und auch die Geschäfte. Aber ich ging immer raus auf die Straße, manchmal auch heimlich. Die Tage, an denen es geschneit hatte, waren die schönsten in Istanbul. Mit Schnee in den Stiefeln bis nach Taksim. Trotz der Strafpredigt, die man ihr abends zu Hause halten würde. In Taksim gab es keinen Feierabend. Es war wie ein Rummelplatz für mich. Der Park war noch so gut wie neu, die Marmortreppen glänzten in der Wintersonne. Ihre Mutter wird ihr erklären, dass die Stufen der Marmortreppen aus den Grabsteinen des armenischen Friedhofs gemacht worden seien, den es hier gegeben habe. Vielleicht gefiel es ihrer Mutter hier deshalb nicht. Schau, wird sie sagen, sich bücken und auf einen der Grabsteine zeigen, auf dem noch die armenische Inschrift zu lesen ist. Aber das alles wird später geschehen. Jetzt liegt ein leuchtend heller Tag vor mir und eine schöne Geschichte, die ich für die Zeitschrift schreiben werde. Denke ich zumindest. So, Barbaros, the Armenian genocide in the Ottoman Empire, it's a very tough and hard issue. And
Yeah, it is still valid because it's not only the problem of the Turkish government nowadays, because it is more than 100 years, and all of the governments, let it be leftists, rightists, or middle, they deny Armenian genocide. And still, even this year, the United States just recognized the Armenian genocide. The president make a statement over there. But not only the Turkish government parties, all of the opposition parties, apart from the Kurdish party, they just act together with the Turkish government and they want to deny Armenian genocide. So, without accepting that there was something happened 100 years ago before the Turkish Republic. I think Turkey as a republic cannot move forward. And this is the beginning of everything to me.
But I mean, there are a lot of tragedies in the history of Turkey, like
Yes.
tragic events. And I asked myself why you did choose this one. So how did you take this decision? And was it a hard decision to write about this taboo tema, still taboo tema in Turkey?
I don't consider anything taboo because I don't consider LGBT a taboo. I don't consider talking about what happened to intellectuals that are rotten in prison for several years. And I don't consider Armenian genocide a taboo. The only thing I am just thinking about, I don't think about taboos, but I am thinking about why many people from Turkey, from these lands, they don't live in Turkey anymore. Armenians, they don't live in Turkey anymore. And most of the intellectuals, they don't live in Turkey anymore. We see a lot of people just immigrating for several reasons from Turkey in the last 100 years. So I think we should talk about those people, and I want to focus on those people. I want to focus, although they speak Turkish and they have a connection to the lands over there, I am just thinking if they are still consider themselves Turkish or if they're really connected to those lands, because you live in Germany.
Yeah.
You're more German than Turkish, most probably. And there are people living in other countries as well. But between you and me, we speak Turkish still. So I'm just thinking about these subjects. What is homeland? Therefore, not only with this one, but with the first one, I wrote about the youngsters who moved away from Turkey after Gezi. And in the third one, I'm writing about the intellectuals who moved away after coup d'etat in 2016. But also, I'm just borrowing the title of my third novel from Semra Ertan, for example. You know, she's a young poet and she moved here. She immigrated here with the family. But then she didn't feel any belonging here, and she had so many obstacles. And I want to question everything. What was happening with Turkish people in the last 100 years? Not only Turkish people, the people who immigrated from Turkey. So
we're gonna talk about the other two books, like the previous one and the upcoming. I mean, this is part of the trilogy.
Yes.
This,
I call it like I call it the Homeland, or in German Heimat trilogy. And I think we have to consider Heimat now in different terms, because you cannot put a border between countries. You cannot put a border between people now only because they just belong to a land. We are just living in a different century now. So you have to define your homeland according to your standards, according to your inside knowledge. Maybe even my homeland and my family's homeland are different now, because we are not sharing the same principles, same ideology in life. So I just want to call homeland my ideological approach to life. And also, I think the only connection, maybe slightly, that connects us to the people is what we do in life, and also the language we speak. Because many people cannot forget the language they learn in their childhood. So they still think about this, and they still dream about this language. In their dreams, they just see the dreams in their mother tongue, which is the language that they learned when they were a child. So I think maybe this is homeland, but we cannot just say that, oh, okay, I was born in Turkey and my homeland is Turkey. No, I don't think so. I don't agree with this anymore.
But let's talk about Derin,
Yes.
the main character of this novel called Sticht, meine Seele. She's a journalist living in Paris, a young woman working
Yes.
for a magazine. And after this murder of Hrant Dink, she is being sent to Istanbul in order to report about it. So when we talk about belonging and homelands, what does Derin connect with Turkey? I mean,
Derin doesn't have any connections, and she also like.
Tell us a bit more about
like
her,
in the book,
the
she's just
character.
questioning, like, she's French because she grew up in France, and her French is most probably is better than her Turkish, and the only connection to Turkey is maybe only the name Derin, because French people, they don't have this name. So this is the only connection. But French people always think that if you are just carrying this name, and if your family is from some certain land, you're from this land.
Yeah.
And
Still.
she was questioning this, even in the magazine. But they say that you speak Turkish, so there's always an excuse to do that. But I don't think that you can just categorize people according to their families, according to their ancestors. So how far should we go to categorize each other in a certain nationalistic view? To me, like, for example, Derin is a lesbian, and I always put an LGBT character in my book. And I think the LGBT family maybe is more homeland to Derin than the other homeland that the French people consider. Like, she's less Turkish, but more lesbian. And also, like, her life is drawing the limits, not according to the Turkish limits, but her own way of living. Therefore, maybe she doesn't live with the mother because the mother is conservative in a way. And she's not even talking about her sexuality with the mother, but she is just living her sexuality. So maybe there is a border between mother and the daughter. Maybe this is the border, what I was trying to tell. So, and in the first one also, although they are coming from different roots, the three protagonists in my first book.
Maybe just give us a little insight in the first one. Like the first one.
Yeah, the first one. Yes, the first one is about three youngsters who moved here to Berlin after what happened to Gezi. By the way, today is the 8th anniversary of the Gezi revolts, which was considered as like the biggest young revolts in Turkey in the recent history. And then many things started to change in Turkey in a worse way. And many of the youngsters, some reports say that more than 100,000 people who are educated between 20 and 30 moved away from Turkey. And some of them, a big majority, they moved to Germany, and most of them to Berlin because they were just living in big cities in Turkey before that, and it was considerably liberal in those big cities before AKP. So I think they just wanted to breathe well, so they moved here. Also in my book, they are just moving to Berlin, even without speaking any German, without any connections. They just want to live. They just want to breathe freely. Therefore, they are just moving here, three of them. And also there's a tragedy, of course, because in Gezi, they just lost their friend. I mean, he was killed by the Turkish police over there. And the main protagonist in my book as well is gay. Wants to be a writer, but all the other friends, they are very liberal in their sexuality. But they are not liberal into their family. Like, they are not talking about their sexuality. They are not even talking about, like, one of them is, like, the girl is pregnant, and she is not talking about this pregnancy to the family, because I think they are more conservative in a way. They are considered more conservative, although they don't consider they consider themselves leftists, etc., but they are conservative in that way. So I think the line is like maybe between old and new generation in Turkey, so the border. So
there are borders within families. And there
Yeah,
are borders
there are-
within families.
yes.
And homeland, Heimat is rather something ideological, rather something that is connected to lifestyle, to identity, maybe?
Yes, to identities, to what is connecting between lifestyles. I don't think that the younger generation consider their families disconnected to themselves. But if the families are not able to accept their lifestyle, they don't want to discuss it. So they are just putting a border between them. But maybe it is normal in other countries as well, but in Turkey, Turkish people or all the Kurdish people, whatever, like if they're living in Turkey, I think it is harder, all those things. Because in Germany, like, nobody is killing you just because you're gay. But in Turkey, it is still happening. The family can kill you just because you're gay. So I think it is more of a harder decision also between the generations, because the new generations are more open and they are connected to the world in better ways, and they just consider themselves as the citizens of the world, not Turkish or Kurdish or Armenian. They can live anywhere, and they are just sharing the same values with their generations. So, like, I think it is about the older generations. They are still sharing the ideas of the older generations. So, I think there's a harder border between the generations.
But maybe we can also try to compare Darren
Yes.
with the characters of the first book, because
Yes.
you know Darren is someone whose parents moved to France, migrated to France. So she was born in France and raised up in France, and she probably she considers herself as French,
Yes.
but other people consider her as Turkish. So there's a kind of identity issue and conflict.
Yes.
So Darren is another generation of or I would not call it of migrants, but she's a rather post-migrant.
Yeah,
like her parents have moved to France, and on the other side you have the characters who are just coming to Berlin from after the coup d'état, no, after Gezi in 2013. So I'm interested in how you look at these two different generations. Do you see like common points? What are the differences between the older generations of migrants and the newer ones?
I think I have a certain decision and I have a certain idea about the differences between the generations, because let's say if you're talking about Europe, the first generation of immigrants, the bigger flux of immigrants started arriving like 60 years ago.
This year is going to be the 60th anniversary of the
Yeah, so like your family was for one of them, and you're more like Darren. But the Armenian genocide and the Armenian immigration was totally different. But again, I think there's a difference between the younger generation of Armenians and the older generation of Armenians, because if you are just seeing everything from first hand, you are more affected to the reality. And if something is told to you through generations, like your father can tell you how hard it was 60 years ago to come here. But I don't think that you can understand how hard it was. Now you can just talk about the identity crisis comparatively in a more luxurious way, because they were not even considered Germans. They were just considered as the Gastarbeiters. They were supposed to go back to their homeland after they're used. So now you're German, but you can just think that you are not considered as full German by the Germans. So I think the first-hand experience to me is valuable. Therefore, I always want to put the first-hand experience, like the survivors of the Armenian genocide. I mean, this is valuable to me because they just saw what happened there from the first hand. And later, what I am writing through a fictionalized way, maybe I'm just softening things, I don't know. But to me, yes, like there are certain differences between immigrants of Turkey, and in the third book, I am just trying to combine all these, three together. Like one of the characters used to be a German, but then she moves to Istanbul during Gezi because she feels that there is an energy that she wants to be a part of it. And then after coup d'etat, she cannot stay in Turkey because of certain things in order not to be put in the prison, because she was a leftist journalist. And she was just trying to make a file of the crimes against humanity of the government. So then she returns back to Germany, to Berlin, once she just refused to leave because of certain problems. So I am just trying to put, therefore it is a trilogy, because the Armenian genocide, I told you, like, is like the first big mistake, and it was the first, whatever it is the first genocide that we have to face. And then we can just start facing the other crimes of the Turkish governments, not only this government, but the all governments that they were just doing, even like maybe the Turkish government of 1960s, that they were just putting people into trains without educating them, without telling them what to do, how to survive here. And they are just sending them in order to get some money through them. So like we have to talk about all of these things. But fiction and books, novels, they are just a start point, I guess, because we are not historians. We have to put maybe a light to the facts that can enlighten the way to the truth. So I am just trying to put a light just on one stair of a long stairs. So this is just the beginning. You write a book, and like, how many people read a book? How many people, after reading the book, can change the mind? You never know that. And I don't think that a book can change somebody's mind. But if a question arises in somebody's, one person's mind, if a Turkish youngster can read the book like 10 years later and thinks that something happened in the past and digs into the reality, so it is just the beginning. Mm-hmm. Like I did, like in my family also, like we were not talking about the Armenian genocide. We were not talking about many things.
How did you hear of it the first time? Do you remember?
I remember because there were talks. Like, they were never talking about the Armenian genocide, but there were talks when somebody dies, for example. Mm-hmm. I just heard that there might be some signs that shows that she or he is not a Muslim, but a turned Muslim. Mm-hmm. Still, imagine this. And then, to me as a child, it was just weird, like, because there were churches also in Turkey.
There
are still churches, like Armenian churches or Russian or Italian churches. But why they turned into Islam and why it is forbidden for them to be Muslim, even if after their death they cannot be a Muslim, but there is a sign that they are turned Muslim. So it means that they don't have the equal rights.
In their passport.
Everything.
Yeah.
So it means that they don't have equal rights.
Yeah.
So I just started thinking about this, and as a child, because I think what I am writing, maybe most of the writers, they are just trying to write about the questions that they started thinking when they were a child. Like, I was just also trying to understand why I am different than the other people, because I was gay. And you always feel that you're different, but you don't know the reason why people treat you like this, why they are just putting you in a different position than the other children, good or bad. I think then through literature and through books and through reading everything, because when you're reading, you just find your own family as well. Mm-hmm. What I want to say when I say family, like your family of understanding. Like, for example, I consider other gay writers as my family. If you read Edouard Louis, for example, or Abdullah Taya, one of them is coming from France and the other one is from North Africa and I am coming from Turkey. But what we speak and what we write about our childhood is very similar. Mm-hmm. Because we just felt different
So they are universal
Yes,
experiences.
but we didn't know that. If you don't read it, if I didn't read it, I cannot connect it. Maybe I was just going to feel weird all my life, or I was just going to think that, okay, in order to feel normal, I have to act like heterosexual. Yeah. So because this is considered normal in many of the societies, not only in Turkey.
So writing and reading for you is finding family.
But it was the question when I was asking to myself when I was a child. So like, why they are talking to me like this? Why they are just saying some names to me? Even when you're 9 years old, you know that you're different, and they're just whispering about you. So it is like that. I am always, maybe out of curiosity, you say, most of the writing, I think, is out of curiosity. But I think mine is out of whispers, because I heard first time that she might be an Armenian through whispers. I heard through whispers that I am different than the other children. So, and I heard that maybe there is a similar guy living in the next town who is older, not married at all, but he's a good guy. Maybe I'm just going to be like this good guy, because there are also like categories also for you. You're weird, but you can be a good weird and bad weird. So like, what I am writing is like the questions that I was asking to myself since I was a child, and the questions that you never get answers from anyone. I was just trying to understand what is happening around me. So I think maybe this is just the beginning. Therefore, I'm just telling that maybe a guy, a girl, 17-year-old, 30-year-old is going to read one of the books that I wrote, and then he is just going to find an answer, or maybe he's just going to question.
About the difference.
About the difference.
Feels or she feels.
And also like about the truth that he was told. Like, okay, if there is no Armenian genocide, so what happened to the people that is mentioned in the book? So like, is it true? Is it not? So I'm just trying to raise the questions. And also like, I just want to make weird children and youngsters feel comfortable in their own skin. So this is the thing. Therefore, I'm not giving unhappy examples of the LGBT people. You can be happy and you can feel comfortable as you are. So this is what I want to do.
And reading your book, I also thought and I felt like it's, it's normal to talk about the genocide. It's normal to be lesbian.
Yeah, it should
gay.
be.
It's normal to live in France with a Turkish name. So I think this is a special feature of your book, that things that are supposed to be not normal in our society become normal in your narration, and you just read it as a daily information, and you just don't even think about
because
this,
like for example, I met you. This is not the first time that I met you, but I don't introduce myself to you. Hello, Volkan. I'm gay and I am Turkish. You don't do that in real life. So like, why should you do it in the books? It should be in the normal flow of life. I am just living like this, and you're just living like that. So you don't introduce yourself like, okay, I am the second generation of a Turkish immigrant, but I don't consider myself as Turkish. I consider myself German. No.
But is writing then somehow also like normalizing reality and making it like normal for other people as well? Because for you it's normal, for me it's normal.
Yes.
For some people with Armenian ancestors, it is normal to talk about the genocide, but for many people it is not. So is it?
We have to define normal, because I think what normal is to the society can be different than the true normal. So like,
yeah, of course, that's what I'm saying, the difference.
Yeah, because like 50 years ago, being gay in Germany was not normal. So I think if you're writing, if you're thinking, if you are just producing anything in arts or whatever it is, in newspapers, you have to be more forward than your normal society. Because to me, normal is the truth. Okay, there are gay people. There is Armenian genocide. And the Turkish government is guilty of many charges against humanity in Syria. So like, these are the normal things. But it cannot be said at that moment, I don't care about this. We have to tell it. We have to put it on the table. And then they are going to decide if this normal is good for now or later. But this is the normal one. Because this is the truth. Nobody can deny that, what I am telling. Like, can you deny Armenian genocide? They call it crazy now. Come on. And can you deny that LGBT people are equal to heterosexual people? Like, now, in many of the Eastern countries, they just want to deny this, but they cannot deny it. So, like, I think it should be this way. If you're writing, of course, if you're writing about minorities, if you are writing about the marginalized sections of population in any country, you are not considered like as normal. Yeah. Like many of the writers, also like even women writers, if they are talking about freedom, if they are talking about being a single mom, if they are talking about free sex, they are not considered normal now. Like, but of course it is normal, and they are going to be considered completely normal maybe in 10 years, 30 years, whatever it is. Like, but normality, I think, shouldn't be the subject of any author. Like, truth should be the subject of the author. Like, to me, for some other writers, maybe like, because I'm not writing best-selling books. Yeah, like for other writers, maybe normalcy is like the normalcy of the society now. So the books are consumed properly, easily, and people will feel, of course, comfortable with the books. My books are not comfortable. I don't recommend it to people to read them like when they are having a lemonade on a summer day. No, it's not like that. So like, they are harsh books. They are like talking about what happened to those good people. So what did we do wrong to them? So why they left our country? Why we are not facing our past, and why are we losing our future because of the mistakes that we are doing? So they have to question themselves. This is what I want to do.
And you, like for this book, you did research in Armenia as well? Yes,
I went to Armenia. I went to Armenia for the first time because I wanted to go there. Especially, I wanted to go to Armenian Genocide Museum, and I wanted to go into their archives, which is in the book as well. It's completely like that. And also, I wanted to, because the first time I met with some Armenians 2 times. One was in Lebanon, and the other one was in Argentina. And it was a kind of a shock to me, because I never knew that there was like a huge community of Armenians in Argentina. In fact, because it is a faraway country, it is not easy to go, especially if you're coming from Turkey. And also, like, you don't know many things about Latin America in Turkey. So it was a kind of exotic country to me. And I went there with a friend of mine, and there was like some jewelry makers over there, especially silver, because Argentina is coming from the silver. And 2 of the guys were speaking to each other in Turkish, really. And I was shocked, like, are you? Yeah. And we just started talking, and then I learned that there is a huge Armenian community, and Argentina was one of the first countries in the world who recognized Armenian genocide because of that. and they were just like maybe kind of, you know, that like if you're just talking something that other people don't want, like you don't want them to hear, so you're just talking in another language. So they were just talking in Turkish, because in Argentina, how many people can speak Turkish?
But you could understand.
Yeah,
them,
I can
and they didn't know.
understand. So it was like, so it was a shock, but I also like, it was a kind of another enlightenment for me. And also, we went to Lebanon with an artist friend of mine, and she was just buying some local artisan pieces for the house. And the guy asked us where we are from, and we said from Istanbul. And he started talking Turkish, and he said that I have never been to Turkey, but my grandfather was always talking about Istanbul because he was from Istanbul, but during the Armenian genocide, they went to Syria in order to survive, and so, but they spoke Turkish to each other, most probably, you know, that like, if they don't want children to understand them between them, they were just speaking Turkish. So he just captured the words, and he was speaking some broken Turkish. So it was a kind of thing that you have to ask yourself, like, so what happened to these people that they went so far and they are still keeping the memories, but they never visit your country? Like, so it must be something really, really wrong that we did to them. So like, and then I started thinking and taking notes about this book, and then I wanted to go to Armenia, and I was living here in Berlin at that time, and the Hrant Dink Foundation gave me a grant to travel to Armenia, and I went there, and it was a kind of one of a lifetime experience, because it is very similar to Turkey, and it is very different from Turkey.
Can you give us examples for the similarity and the difference?
The similarity, like, we are just sharing the same songs even.
Yeah.
And we are just sharing the same kind of melodies. We are sharing the food, which is very important for Turkish and Armenian people. You know, there's a fight. Which one is Armenian, which one is Turkish? Like, lahmacun is Turkish or Armenian, or pastırma, because Kayseri was one of the most important Armenian cities. So, like, it is coming from there. So it is Armenian or Turkish, etc. So it is very similar to Turkey, but it is also kind of very different, because you go to Armenia, and it's a small country. It's like, I think, more than only 3 million people living there in whole Armenia. So it's a small country, but all of the people, they know that there was Armenian genocide.
That's the difference.
This is the difference, but also I was Turkish, and they didn't know that, what I was doing there. But there was nothing against me, although I was Turkish.
And
I was very welcome.
did you introduce yourself as Turkish sometimes? How did
All the
people
time.
react?
No, all the time.
Yeah?
I was
And how did they
introducing
react?
myself. They were just talking. One of the guys, like young, educated, and he just a journalist, and he told me, "So why are you here?" And I said that, like, I just want to see Armenia, because, you know, it is also easy to go to Armenia from Turkey, and most of the people, they don't know that, because you don't need a visa from Turkey to go to Armenia. Like most of the European countries, they ask for a visa, but Armenia doesn't ask for a visa for Turkish citizens. So, like, and I said that I just want to see it because it is very close to Turkey. It is very close to my culture, and said that, like, he wants to come to the subject, but he doesn't want to ask directly if I believe, if I can say that there's Armenian genocide. And I told him that also I want to see the Armenian Genocide Museum. And he asked me, so you think there's the Armenian genocide? I said, yes, of course there was an Armenian genocide. And then he felt relaxed. So, but I think it is also different, because in Turkey, Turkey is a big country, like 90 million people living, and it is as big as Germany also, like the lens. And if you go from one border to the other, which can take days by car, you cannot find more than maybe 10% of the people who are going to be kind enough to you if you say that there's Armenian genocide. And I just saw the difference, because this is the difference of the truth. They just know that the truth is there and it is going to be recognized sooner or later. But in Turkey, there is anger because they know that it is the truth, but they just don't want to accept it. So there is anger. So I just saw these differences, and I still like a lot what Armenia is doing as a country, and also like as a kind of pride and believing itself in the truth. So I just felt very welcomed, and also I just felt like, okay, I can just live here for some time, really, because it's very similar to Turkey, but it is, in a more relaxed atmosphere. But after I read the reports last week about the LGBT rights, so I have to blame that. Maybe it is like there are 3 worst countries in Europe for the LGBT rights, and they are Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Armenia. So they don't give any rights, they don't support any rights, they don't even consider giving them any rights. So I think maybe it is they have to question themselves just for this reason, because they are just sharing the same values, most of the same values with the European countries, but just not sharing one of the most important human rights values, like giving equal rights to LGBT people. I think it's a shame for that country especially, because it is a minority. There's an LGBT minority, because I also met with LGBT people over there. So they're just hiding. No, you don't want to do this to your people. Why should they live in the hiding? Just give them rights. This is easy, I guess, for Armenia I'm talking about.
Yeah. So we talked about Heimat, homeland.
Yes.
We talked about migration. We talked about genocide and exodus.
Yes.
We talked about identity. And I'm curious how you feel personally, because you moved to Berlin in 2017?
Yeah.
2017?
Yes. And I was living in Paris 1 year before that.
Yeah.
After coup d'etat, 2016, I went to Paris.
So how is it to live in Berlin as a Turkish writer?
First, I like Berlin a lot. Even before that, I used to like Berlin a lot. 2 connections. One, I had connections because a part of my family was living here, different cities. Still, my cousin lives in Bremerhaven. So, but I was never visited them because I was a small child, and most part they are just living in Turkey now because they are older. Only the younger generation is living here, or they immigrated to some other countries, especially to United States. Therefore, I had connections, because the first postcard I remember when I was a child is the postcard of Berlin that my cousin sent me. So I remember Berlin as a kind of country, because I told you, like, I felt weird when I was a child. So I was just hearing good stories about Germany and being especially in Berlin, because Berlin was an island, a kind of liberty island. When I was growing up, I was just hearing stories. So maybe I just felt insanely that I can belong to that city. I don't know. Now I can just name it. Most probably I was just thinking about this. So I just fed myself with the knowledge of Berlin. I just fed myself with the writers, authors who wrote in Berlin, who wrote about the liberty in Berlin. Start from Christopher Isherwood and go to 2000s writers. Even I read, many Turkish authors, including Sevgi Özaman. And I think I was just feeding myself about Berlin and the liberty. And I just started thinking about living here for a certain period of time, but it was a choice during that time. Like Turkey was a country still liberal and still kind of livable. And then after Gezi, I had my questions about Istanbul and how I can survive in Istanbul. And I came here in 2000, right after Gezi, by the end of 2013, and also the summer of May of 2014. And I wrote and finished my first novel here in Berlin, in Torstrasse. So therefore, a lot of details in my first novel are from Torstrasse and around.
Uns geht es gut hier.
Yeah,
Is the name of the novel.
Yes.
We're fine here. Yeah.
And then we moved to Paris with a friend in 2016. And my original idea was to live there in Paris for 1 year and to move to Berlin, always. Because I think if you are just feeding too much yourself from your childhood about a certain thing, you have to do it. And it was an idea, it was a dream for me to live in Berlin for some certain period in my life. And I still like it because it is a big city. Well, it is not as big as New York, where I used to live, or in Istanbul, not as chaotic as Istanbul. But you can find everything over there. And I have several friends from several cities, from Turkey and from London and even from France, from Paris. They are just living in Berlin now. So I think what happened to Berlin in the last 100 years, it is just returning to its roots of freedom and liberty, like in 1910s and 20s. So it is just becoming, maybe we are just going to see it when we are too old, that these are the good times in Berlin. It is just becoming that island that can give you freedom. Whatever you do, however you feel, wherever you're coming from, you're welcomed in Berlin. And this is what I feel now.
And it's an interesting situation because, Berlin is known as a Turkish city as well.
Yeah,
like there are a lot of Turkish migrants living, or like people, my parents' generation, my grandparents' generation, who moved to Germany from Turkey, living there, their children. And now you have a lot of people coming, like since the Gezi time,
newcomers.
Newcomers since the Gezi protests, also after the coup d'etat. A lot of people came to Berlin, and I also live in Berlin, and for me it was also a place where I really wanted to go. I was born and raised in the south of Germany, but I always, saw Berlin as the city of like Turkish migrants and as a city of Turkish-German rappers. For me that was a very important thing. So finally I also moved to Berlin, and I find myself in a very interesting situation because you have this people like Derin.
Yes.
From this book, who are the second or third generation.
Which is you.
And you have the people
from the first book,
From the first book.
And there's a clash also.
Yeah, and that's my question. How do you think about this encounter? How do you see this encounter?
Okay, so
let's talk about it for a few more minutes, and then we have to end our conversation.
Okay, there's a saying in Turkish. Do you know that Berlin is the second biggest city after Istanbul, Turkish?
Yeah, of course.
So yes. Therefore, of course, in Istanbul as well, there are clashes between people, between generations and everything. There is going to be a clash because the newcomers, they don't know Berlin yet. They are just starting to discover Berlin because most of the people who immigrated to Berlin, they didn't even come to Berlin before that. Do you know that? Yeah. So this is the first time that they are just facing the reality of Berlin. And Berlin is also a harsh city. German mentality is harsh also for Turkish people. Turkish mentality is more flexible, and German mentality is like a wall. They are just facing it for the first time here. So, and they are just thinking that, okay, you, for example.
Can we get along?
Yeah,
the new and old generation.
you are most probably you are more German, also to them, than Turkish. But your father, for example, your grandfather, they are more Turkish than them. So it
That's
is,
interesting,
yeah,
yeah.
it is like
Okay.
you are just living in a grand family, but you don't share the same values with your grandfathers, but you're just sharing your values with your distant cousins. And you don't know how to act when you meet them. Like, you know, because I'm not sharing the same values with your mother, but I want to share the same values with you, but I don't know how to do it properly. And also, in order to do that, this is also a luxury. First, we have to let them survive here in this city because it is not easy. Because most of the people who immigrated to Berlin, they are not immigrated here for some beautiful reasons. So they had to immigrate here. So first we have to give them some space and we have to give some time for their clashes to calm down and they are going to see it, I guess. Yes, now there's a clash between generations and between those two immigrant groups. Come on, like we're just sharing the same things. We're just going to go and drink this. Yeah, like I don't think that there's going to be
music.
Yes,
for
and also
example,
like I don't think that there's going to be a clash in 10 years. Therefore, time is very
Literature.
like you cannot see it in 30 years most probably.
Yeah.
I don't think so. We are just going to be living in a big Turkish city.
Yeah, I think that's a good last statement. We're gonna live
I
in a
don't
Turkish
know.
city
Maybe
someday.
we can just cut this out.
No censorship here. Thank you very much
I thank you.
for this conversation.
Yes.
And thanks
And
for
we
this
need
book.
drinks.
This book. Thank you also for this book. Ruhumdaki yaralar and Sticht, meine Seele. Will it be available in English as well?
Yeah, most probably.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because we talked in English, so
Yes,
we have to publish it in English
yes,
as well.
yes. The translation is completed, so hopefully
Okay.
next year.
Thank you very much.
I thank
and
you for
thank
your
you for
time.
watching.